Welcome to the Sales Influence Podcast, where we talk about finding the why in how people buy. I'm your host, Victor Antonio. Thank you for joining me today. Always appreciate you guys, gals, listening in. So today I want to talk about something you probably already know, but I'm going for it anyways, because sometimes, just talking about it refreshes the brain a bit and makes us think about it more deeply. So I want to talk about changes in selling. What's going on in the sales world? Why is it harder to close more deals, right? One study said that 50%, more or less, 51% of salespeople are not hitting their sales quota. I mean, think about that, 50%. And I believe that number is going to increase in the bad way. In other words, more people are not going to be closing deals. And so what's happening that's making it harder, for us to sell more effectively? Now, I can come up with a whole laundry list. I'm sure I can put together a list of maybe 20, 25 things. But I said, let me look at the top 7 in my book of what's going on in the world of selling. And then let's talk about, how can we, mitigate some of these challenges and make it easier for us to actually sell. Number 1, the number of options in the market for buyers has increased. And it's not so much that the options have increased, the access to those options has increased. In other words, the internet has made it possible. Social media has made it possible for customers to get access to more options than ever before. My question to you, is that good news or is that bad news? What do you think? Good news or bad news? I think it's good news. I think it's good news. Now, you can go on the bad news as well. That's more competition, Victor. They're going to, beat us up on price more because they have more options. If you're thinking that way, you're missing the point. You're really missing the big picture. Because there are more options, listen carefully, because there are more options, people are more confused than ever. Buyers are more confused than ever. See, when there's too many options, the brain locks up, goes into this thing called buyer's regret, where it'd rather not make a decision than make a decision and be wrong. Let me say that again. It goes into buyer's regret, the brain, because it'd rather not make a decision than make a decision and be wrong. So the fact that there's more options out there provides a golden, I say, opportunity for the salesperson to help the customer become that trusted advisor, to explain things to the customer and help guide them into making a buying decision. See, so you as a salesperson are now more valuable than ever. In other words, it's not what you sell, it's how you sell in today's market. And you are more valuable because there's more options. Number 2 problem in selling today, there's access to these options has become easier, right? Again, the internet makes it easier for people to get options. But again, there's a portion of people who are not making those buying decisions because they're not sure. That's where you come in. Problem number 3, the number of decision makers continues to increase. Ooh, that's a big one. Here's the problem. More people are now involved in making a buying decision. Now, again, that's a broad statement because if it's a transactional sale, something simple, not that many people are involved, right? But in general, when you're selling in a B2B world, enterprise type sale, the product you're selling will probably impact more than one person, if not more than one department. And because that is the case, it will impact more than one person, more than one department, and the risk associated with this high-priced item you are offering comes more risk. More people need to actually be in on the buying process. Now, the numbers vary. Some people put it on average, you'll have 5 decision makers. Some people say 7. Some people say a little more. Whatever the case may be, the challenge we face is that now we have to develop what is known as consensus buying. Consensus buying is, how do we get these 5 or 7 decision makers on the same page? How do we control that? And again, if you understand these 5 or 7 people, who are making the decisions, it's always our job as salespeople to find common ground and work from there. Because when you get 5 or 7 people who are trying to make one decision, everybody has an opinion on what they should buy, for what reasons they should buy it. And in many cases, it's all about self-interest. They're only looking at their perspective, right? So in other words, the marketing people are only going to look at the marketing aspect of the product. The operations people are going to look at the installation and how do we get this, make it fit. The users are usually saying, well, is it easy to use? Is it hard to use? Everybody has their own perspective on why it should buy or why they shouldn't buy it. Our job as salespeople, again, provides an opportunity for us to do consensus building. How do we get people on board and actually serve all these different interests? That's why salespeople are more important than ever. Number 4. Access to decision maker is becoming that much more difficult. Yes, it is. See, most decision makers today view salespeople, I hate to say it this way, but I'm going to say it, you're wasting my time. There was one study that showed that only 63, not even that, it was like 43% of the executives viewed the actual presentation by the salesperson as valuable. Another one showed as high as 63, I believe. In other words, they don't even find the conversation they're having with you interesting, which is why they never call back when you want to set up the second meeting. In other words, simply said, even if you get access to the decision maker, if you're not having a valuable conversation, listen to my podcast on insights, business insights. If you're not having meaningful conversations, they're not going to call back. See, but again, this provides an opportunity for salespeople because when we do get access to the decision maker, we know what type of conversations to have. In fact, as we're trying to get access, what if your voicemails are value-laden? Do you know why value-laden? They're full of value. They tell the customer or the decision maker that, hey, I want to talk to you about these crucial things about your business. And if you can make that meaningful, maybe they'll call back. Then maybe the first one will work, but you call the second time, and now you leave another value-laden message in that voicemail. And the more you can do this, the more you can position yourself as somebody who understands their market, their business, their industry, and their struggles, maybe they'll pick up the phone. But once you get that conversation, once you get that meeting, you got to provide value. Number 5, one of the challenges in selling is the equality of quality. That's a good phrase, the equality of quality. All products look the same. Simply said, product parity, right? All products and services are beginning to look the same. Customers can't tell the difference. Is that good or bad for us salespeople? The answer is good. Now, I know what you're saying. No, Victor's bad because we look the same. No, you're missing the point. Again, we as salespeople are the differentiators in any sales process. Because if two products are almost similar, we're talking maybe 1 degree off difference, it's our ability to actually tell them what that 1% is, but maybe even add value by suggesting things to the customer that maybe the other salesperson with the other product who's similar didn't do. In other words, you're not just selling the product or service. You're selling how it could help them build their business, different ways that they can use it. What if you start getting more creative about how your product can help the company make more money? What if you start getting creative on how the product can help them save more money? How if you can help them expand their market shares in ways they haven't thought about using your product? The fact that you gave them the ideas positions you as the expert. The other person did the same presentation with the same product, but didn't provide that insight, that value added in the conversation. So again, keep that in mind. Number 6, changes in selling. Longer sales cycle. That means it's taking longer to close the deal. I submit to you that the reason it's taking longer to close the deal is that when we were in there doing the presentation, it wasn't convincing. We didn't move them along the decision-making line. We didn't provide enough value. And again, this is where you can control this. You can control what information you provide in these presentations. To give you a hint, listen to my presentation or my podcast on how you create dynamic presentations with lots of value. Because I think where we stumble as salespeople is that first initial meeting. In that presentation, we didn't create enough value. But again, that's something we can control. And if we do it, we'll be able to shorten that sales cycle. Lastly, you, the salesperson, is the person that is going to make the difference. You are the insight engine. What do I mean by that? You're going to bring insight that nobody has, as I already mentioned. You're going to bring content to bear, information to that conversation that the other salespeople who offer similar products, who are your competitors, are not offering. If you can do that, you'll close more deals. But too often, we take the shortcut. We don't think about it. We don't even analyze the customer. We don't even research their business. We don't try to understand what they're going through. And we go in there and we sound just like everybody else. See, the ability to sell in this changing world is within your control. That's the irony. The world of selling has changed. It's become harder, but everything that's going on around us can be managed by you. You, the salesperson, have the ability to have better conversations with the customer. The question is, are you willing to do it? Are you willing to spend more time with your customer? Are you willing to slow down in order to speed up? What I mean by that, ask more questions, really understand the customer's business. Are you willing to research the company before you go visit them? Don't go in there with the standard questions. Go in there with some really insightful questions that make the customer go, man, I didn't think about that. Wow, that's different. Are you taking the time to really build a value presentation? I mean, a killer presentation where at the end they go, we never thought about it this way. We're curious. We want to know more. Can you tell us more? Can we set up a second meeting? That's when you know you're doing it right. If the customer goes, thank you for coming here, you know you're doing it wrong. But when they start inviting you back, when they start asking a lot of questions, when you start challenging them on what their assumptions are, and then you start providing some insight, and you really bring in industry information, vertical information, market information, and things that can really help the business, that's when you're selling. Other than that, you're just telling, which means you're just telling about your product. You're not really positioning it. And that is the difference between those who sell and those who tell. This is Victor Antonio, and that's it for this Sales Influence podcast. Don't forget to leave me some feedback on iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. Let me know what you think. I'd greatly appreciate it. Also, check out my online sales training platform, the Sales Mastery Academy. You can find us at the salesmasteryacademy.us. There you'll get my courses, you'll get my videos, you'll get my books. So if you're serious about increasing your sales ability, go to salesmasteryacademy.us. Lastly, I want to thank you again. This is Victor Antonio once more, always reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know what? How. Take care. Hi, I'm Victor Antonio. I'm an author, sales trainer, and keynote speaker. I'm often asked, what makes a great speaker? Is it someone who delivers real content that the audience can use? Is it someone who engages the audience so they're part of the learning experience? Or is it someone who can motivate an audience to push them beyond their comfort zone and discover new abilities? The answer is yes. But the most important thing to remember is that I'm not there to look good. I'm there to make my client look good. Simply put, it's never about me, and it's always about them.